We are so happy to have with us our guest, Mr. Eric Jefferson, who is the school high school principal, and
Yes.
he's going to address
Woo!
uh, the, the subject of education for our boys and girls, for our young adults. So we're going to
Mhm.
ask him to just go away with it. We're going to have questions from everybody. So Mr. Jefferson is going to go on in his own way and introduce
Oh,
to us this topic tonight. Mr. Jefferson.
yeah. Hey, well, thank you, the farmer girl, chilling with the farmer girls. I am so excited and the pleasure of being on this show. I thank y'all so much for allowing me the space and the time to talk about something that I'm very passionate about. And so I really appreciate the opportunity. And so thank you. Just want to say thank you first for that. But a couple of things that we're going to talk about, and please, by all means, if you're looking at this show, please ask some questions. I know the ladies have some questions for me as well, and I'm so excited to answer any of your questions. So, but let's look at the hottest topic in education right now. It's the reopening of schools and
Mhm.
students coming back to school.
Yeah.
And I know every parent has it in their mind. Is it safe for my child to go back into the building?
That's right.
And so,
That's good.
yeah, and that's the number one question on every parent's mind, because we know that the vaccine is not has not trickled down to 12-year-olds or less than 10-year-olds now. So the vaccine is still really for high school and above.
Mhm.
And so you're asking the question. I know you're sitting there looking at this and asking the question: is it safe for my child to go back to school? And I'm gonna say this: it is imperative that you send your kids back to in-person learning.
Mm.
Throughout this COVID, throughout this 18 months of kids being out of school, we have seen a 2 to 3 year opportunity gap where
Wow.
kids have lost a minimum of 2 years of educational experience.
Wow.
Hmm.
We have seen
Wow.
substance abuse go up by 25 to 30%. We have seen mental health go up by 35, 40%. Social emotional learning, trauma, all of these things have increased because COVID-19 and the shutdown of schools has exacerbated all of these things and put them in acceleration.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so it is I am a firm believer that yes, all parents, please send your kids back to school, because it is imperative, because we got to recoup and recover the loss of the social emotional learning, the loss of mental health learning, and the educational loss that we lost 2 to 3 years of schooling. And that's only for the average student.
Yeah.
Mm.
The below average student has lost 3 to 4 years
Wow.
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 of education.
Good
Yes.
Lord.
And
So
so go ahead.
I was going to say, so is there anything that you can say that can put the parents at ease to make
Well,
them, hey, I'm gonna take my child back to school?
absolutely. So make sure your child is well versed on wearing their mask.
Mhm.
I would ask all principals for their cleaning schedule, their cleaning regimen,
Okay, that's
because
good.
it should be spelled out
Okay.
how they're cleaning the school during the day,
Mhm.
how they're disinfecting the school at night. What talk to your principals about contact tracing, how they're doing their lunch shifts, how they're managing student populations, how they're managing their hallways. I would ask all of these questions just to get a sense of safety. I know for me, I'm principal of a high school, the largest high school in Anne Arundel County. And so my cleaning regimen is that disinfect wipes throughout the classroom. I have two maintenance people going around every period to wipe down door handles and
Mm.
doorknobs and general area spots. Cafeteria is, I have like 3 or 4 alternatives to the cafeteria. So I won't have 600-700 kids in the cafeteria.
Okay.
And so just looking at, hallway signs that say one way, only this way, only this way. So it really, in general, just having that awareness of what kids need to be safe, because our number one, when the kid gets to our building, our number one charge for us is to keep that kid and that teacher safe at all times.
Right. So that's really
That's
good. So
good.
I want to also
Yeah.
like go to the beginning of it. So when do we introduce education to our children? How early?
Oh, well, I think education has to be introduced in the womb, and that's by
Yes.
a parent.
good.
That's by the mother. That's by the mother reading, listening to books, reading books, because parts of your brain get fully developed by 6 months. And if a parent is in trauma while she's pregnant, the mother's in trauma while she's pregnant, then that kid's going to come out with trauma.
And also, Mr.
And-
Jefferson, excuse me, also biblical wise, that's where we believe in God. They had to
Absolutely.
even drink or eat certain things before the baby was born.
Absolutely, because that part of the brain is fully developed at 6 months. It really, really plays a part in the education. So I really believe that it starts in the womb. But once you are out of the womb, then I'm a firm believer that you really have to start educating your child by 2 years old. They need to be in some type of child development center. They need to be in some type of child development, some type of center that they're really learning, because a lot of times by 6 years old, if they haven't been in an educational setting, they are coming to kindergarten between 8,000 to 10,000 words behind in their counterparts who have been in some type of structured education.
Right.
Wow. That's wow.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
I was just thinking about just with the technology that's out here, for the children. Because I have a granddaughter, and she's like almost 3 years old, and she's on the cell phone, and she knows how to operate it and things like that. So how much time do you think children should be on social media, or on their tablets and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I think you have to limit social media, period, because our kids can find everything that they want on social media. But I think learning the skills for tablets and laptops, I think the school system really in this environment that we've been in, this virtual environment, has really stepped up our game to really teach kids how to use technology.
Okay.
Now, if you're using it for educational purposes, absolutely, they should be able to stay on as long as they need. But if they're using it for social purpose, I would really limit the time that they're on it for social purposes.
yeah, and what's really sad, the kids know how to get on, do like FaceTime their friends at young, like 3 years old or whatever, but they don't know how to spell their names. So you know what I
But they don't
mean?
know how to
So
spell their name.
the parents are letting the social media and television and all that kind of stuff teach their children.
Raise their children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance.
It absolutely has to be a balance. Even when we talk about even the spiritual man and the church and education and the things, everything has to have balance. And when you're out of balance is when you really get into start convoluting things. When you get out of balance.
Well, how can we make education appealing to our children?
I think it's all about engagement. It's how the teacher is teaching. No longer can we sit around and keep kids in rows and the teacher just talk the whole time. That's not engagement. You have to use those strategies that really engage kids. There has to be more student talk, more student dialogue. There has to be more student-centered approaches to learning. And really, if the teacher really is a good teacher, that teacher will stand back and facilitate the learning. And really the kids take ownership of their learning.
Yeah.
But as long as we're giving them what I call direct instruction, that the teacher has the kids sit in rows and the kids are not talking to each other and the teacher's doing all the talking, you will continue to have this. I told my staff, I opened up with my staff this week and teachers came back and I told them this, I said, we have now the opportunity to reform education. And really we can use that same statement for the church too.
I was thinking.
We have the opportunity to change the way we do things that will better our students. If we go back to what we did, the old way of doing things, we will lose every child in education.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
school learning or online learning?
I'm a firm believer in in-person learning, but you have kids who thrive in online. So I think you have to give kids a choice. You have to give them an option for either online learning or in-person learning or online, because some kids are thriving in that virtual space. Some kids are introverts who struggle being around a whole lot of kids. So those kids that can thrive in a virtual setting, you absolutely allow them the choice to be in a virtual setting.
So why is that your preference to be in person?
Well, I think you build better, you could build relationships. Education starts with relationships. You know, you can't educate a child if you don't ever build a relationship with that child.
That's right.
And so it starts with relationships. And I think, yeah, you can build relationships virtually, but that personal touch, seeing that person day in and day out, I think really builds that relationship to the point where that child now feels safe, that child feels comfortable, and that child feels like they can open up in order to learn.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about, the virtual platform that we had. It didn't benefit all of the kids because they had certain issues at home that they had to deal with. Because I know you spoke about the abusive rate, all those different things, they just went up, when the kids had to do the virtual learning.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So but some kids thrived in that virtual learning. But the kids that did not thrive are the kids who parents were in trauma and they had to stay home and see the trauma for 8 to 9 hours.
And sometimes they didn't have the maturity equipment to work with. Some of them, they didn't know how to maneuver some of those platforms.
Some of them didn't have the internet access.
Right.
See, when it comes to education and when it comes to everything in this society, it's really about access and opportunity. And what COVID has really taught us is that some people don't have access or opportunity. Some of them don't. They don't have access or opportunity. And because of that, that's why we are in trouble.
Yeah. And then you have parents. All parents are not teachers. So you have parents who didn't even know how to work with their children on the platforms.
This new math that they teaching is not suitable for
what is it?
this I call it this new math that they teaching. I'm like, I don't even understand it.
Right.
I was like, I don't even understand that algebra. What was like that?
Right.
No, you didn't. Just say
The
algebra.
not algebra. You know, algebra or algebra? Which one you talking about?
Wow.
Uh-oh.
And
Which
then
one you talking about?
you had parents who weren't educated at all and was at home with their kids. Like, suppose the parents couldn't read or write. Like, how am I going to teach my child virtually if I don't know anything?
Right.
Exactly. But also too, the curriculum now has changed dramatically. The curriculum now has changed dramatically. And so a lot of times what we're seeing now is they're changed the way subjects are being taught. And it's making it even hard for the educated parent to help their child,
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So how do you deal with the children or the students with the ADHD or the ADD? How do we deal with that?
Well, I think it goes back down to engagement. How we engage our kids. The child that struggles with ADHD struggles because the teacher is trying to make them something that they're not. You know, they're not engaged. They're not engaging the kid. So, like I said, if you're gonna sit a kid in a row and just try to talk to them the whole day, that child with the ADHD is not going to perform at any level. So it's about the way we engage. It's about the way we instruct. And I'm sorry for the darkness. I'm in the light now.
Oh, that's okay. Let
Okay.
there be light.
Let there be light, and there was light. So I think the way we engage, I think the way that we structure our classroom, I never had a problem with kids with ADHD in my class. Because I taught chemistry, physics, and AP physics and AP chemistry. So I was in some type of lab. I was doing some type of activity every single day. So the kids with ADHD actually wanted to come to my class.
Oh, okay.
Because they knew they were going to have fun, but they were going to learn at the same time. Yeah.
So that's what it's about, keeping them engaged.
Exactly.
Keeping them engaged in the learning process.
So how do you do, what about in your school? What do you do differently to engage the children than
well,
schools?
That's a great question. But so a lot of times I'm in and out of every classroom just about every day.
Okay.
And I'm making sure that the strategies that I give my teachers, they're using in class. So strategies like kids are talking to each other, like we call them AVID strategies. We call them Socratic seminars. It's just that no classroom has roles. They have to be in what I call collaborative groups. And so the kids are doing a lot of the learning and a lot of the collaboration in the classroom. So it's more centered towards the student and not the teacher.
Okay. Wow.
So what's the educational stats in your school?
What's the what?
Educational statistics in your school.
Meaning like my pass rate or?
Yes.
Graduation rate. So I have a 96% graduation rate.
Ooh,
I have
excellent.
I have my African Americans actually are graduating higher rates than my whites and anyone else.
Wow.
My whites and so I have a total I have a 97% matriculation rate. So studies show that from 9th grade to 10th grade, that students have a better chance of graduating if they pass the 9th grade.
Okay.
So I have like a 97% matriculation rate from 9th grade to 10th grade.
That's excellent.
Graduation rate did go down just a little bit. It was at 96%. It went down to about 94%.
Okay.
Between 93 and 94%. But my African Americans are graduating at 95%.
That's excellent.
And I have a school that is 67% free and reduced lunch. That means 67% of my population live below the poverty line.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. Now, before the pandemic, how did you encourage the parents' participation, or how much input that they put into the school?
So I have a very strong PTSA for high school.
Oh,
Okay.
I have a very strong PTSA for high school, but also too, when you get to high school, we have booster clubs. So you have the athletic booster club that has a lot of parent involvement. I have the music boosters club that have a lot of involvement. And so I get the parent involvement, but I also allow parents to help me make decisions for the school as well. So if there's a major decision that needs to be made, I'm going to reach out to parents. I'm going to give parents a survey. I'm going to get parent input. Even as something as my school improvement plan, I have a couple parents who sit in my meetings to give us suggestions and ideas on ways to improve the school.
Oh, that's good. That's
I
very
also have a question. Now, years ago, when my children were in school, I was heavily involved in PTA, and we were told that we had input in even some of the curricular activities as to what they were able to teach. Do they still have that?
Absolutely. Yes, some school districts do. Unfortunately, some school districts don't. But the input comes in. I know we have a superintendent's parents advisory board that there's a parent representative from each school that sit with the superintendent once a month. We also have various committees that parents sit on. So yeah, there are some curriculum committees that parents do have. There are some, but the parents do have that can sit on the curriculum committee and really dive into what is being taught in our schools. Yes.
Wow.
Now I have a question for you, and I don't know if you can answer this online or not.
Oh Lord, Melanie.
No, I'm just interested in, what your opinion is. What role do you think the government should play in education? What role do you think they should have in education?
That's good.
I think the government should create the standards, but then you let the local government create the regulations, and that's typically how it is. Your board of education create the rules and the regulations of how that school and the policies of how that school district is going to run. Then you have the state government who creates the standards for that state. But then you have the federal government who tries to make sure that everything is on a level playing field. So that's why you have things, have you ever heard of like Title IX, which is women's Title IX, Title VIII, Title V. Those are all federal mandates, which tries to give the schools a level playing field. But then there are local things that need to happen in the local school district to bring equities to school, where access and opportunity. So it shouldn't be a cookie cutter from this high school that might sit in Catonsville or Severna Park, and this high school that sits, in Forest Park. You know what I'm saying? That there should be, the district ought to create, equity within the different schools, because every school has different demographics. So say for instance, I live in Baltimore County. Townsend High School is going to be different than Woodlawn.
Right.
Woodlawn may need more resources. Milford Mill and Woodlawn may need more resources. And you just can't do a cookie cutter, cookie cutter school because you're in the same school district. So I think the local school boards and the local government actually really has to shape and form that, because 90% of the school district budgets come from that county. So like St. Louis, like Baltimore City has $1 billion school district budget.
Okay.
Anne Arundel County has an $820 million school district budget. It costs anywhere between $16,000 and $21,000 per year to educate one child.
Ooh, wow.
Wow.
One child.
Wow.
Lord.
One child. So think about everything that it goes into educating that one child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're talking about salaries,
Mm-hmm.
teacher salary, counselor salary, school psychologist salary, school social work salary, any teacher aide. You're talking about lunch, cafeteria
Mm-hmm.
worker, bus driver, bus routes, principal, assistant principal. So all of that is factored into educating one child.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges you face as a principal of a high school?
Ooh, great question. I think the challenges that we face is really having to deal with the inequities, dealing with the inequities of schools and really the social justice piece of school.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless we fix the system, our Black and brown kids are still going to struggle. Unless we really start honing in on everybody wants to talk about this achievement gap. But unless I start feeling the opportunity gap and the learning gap,
Mm-hmm.
I can never even think about the achievement gap.
Mm.
So I think the biggest challenge is, how do I bring access and opportunity to a marginalized group of students, to students that are normally forgotten about,
Yeah.
students that when they graduate high school have nothing to do. How do I bring that access and opportunity? And how do I fix the systems from within that will create a socially just system within my school and then within my school district? Because you could bring equity and still be inequitable. But if you fix the system, then everybody wins.
Mm-hmm.
And really coming in as a Black male trying to fix the system, you're going to get pushback.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You're gonna get that pushback because, let's be honest, everybody doesn't want the system to be fixed.
Yeah.
Right. That's it.
Everybody doesn't want the system to be fixed.
I think
Mhm.
because a broken system creates jobs for people. Like
broken
more prisons.
System create
Yeah.
jobs.
What in the
Yes,
world?
yes, the
No, it
welfare
does.
system.
It does.
Uh-huh.
It does.
Sad.
It does. It
is
creates
sad.
it creates jobs for the people that are not broke,
Mm.
that are not
Uh-huh.
broke in.
Yeah.
It actually creates wealth for the people
Yeah.
who are not broken. For
That's
the
right.
people who capitalize on a broken system,
Yeah.
they generate billions of dollars.
They
Mhm.
do.
And the people who they're trying to fix still is left with zero.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's why I always tell my teachers, we don't fix kids. We fix the system at which kids are in.
Mhm.
Right.
Stop
Yeah.
saying that. Stop saying we're gonna fix this kid. No, we're gonna fix the system, because if you ever think about the analogy of a plant, you don't fix the plant. You change the environment in which that plant is living in,
Mhm.
That's right.
so it can get the nutrients to grow to fix its own self.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because we're fearfully and wonderfully made.
Right.
So we can fix ourselves if the environment is conducive to
Mhm.
us being fixed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But as long as I keep things broken, every time somebody pours water on me to make me grow, it's seeping out the brokenness.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, but if I fix the system or the environment in which that plant is growing in, the plant could be leaning one day, but I fix the environment, the plant standing straight up
Mhm.
the next
Right.
day. So
Wow.
we don't fix
That's so
fix
true.
kids.
Right.
We change the environment that those kids are in so they can
Mhm.
grow.
Mhm.
And then
Not
they
by
have some.
building more jails and prisons and stuff.
I was getting ready to say that, Tish. That's
Mhm.
almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. We're going to build more jails before
Yeah.
the
That's
kids
what it
get
is.
there.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know why we're gonna build more jails? Because jails is private now.
Oh yeah, money.
They privatized jails over 25 years ago. So it's all about
Yeah.
money.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. So
All
how do you
about
deal?
that.
How do you deal with the student who can't really learn, or who's having learning issues based on the problem that's going on in the home?
Well, it goes back to that engagement. It goes back to number one, that relationship. Do you have a well enough relationship to help that kid muscle through whatever it is that they're dealing with at home? So it starts with I'm gonna always refer back to relationship and engagement. And this is my first day as a principal 7 years ago at North County High School. I said this: if you want to change student outcomes, you change adult behaviors. I'm gonna say that again. If you want to change student outcomes, you have to change adult behaviors.
Yeah.
When adult behaviors change to do what's best for that student, then that student can achieve. But as long as I have that adult that says it's the kid's fault, they're never self-reflective or introspective. And that's really part of that happens in the church too. Nobody wants to be introspective of themselves. Everybody always wants to blame and point the finger and pass the buck to somebody else. But if we really look introspective of ourselves, and Melody can attest to this, this is what I teach and preach and live at Emmanuel Temple Church. If you can be introspective, then you will never point the finger. You will always look at yourself first. And change you, and then everything else will change around you when you change. Because it ain't everybody else's fault.
So even when you find people leaving discontent, you got to stop. Why are you doing this? What did I do? What could I have done better? Introspective. Introspective.
I said this in one of my messages a couple of months ago. I said, when people are not fulfilling their purpose, they default to being a critic.
See?
And that's something. So good. Now, isn't that something?
When you're not fulfilling your purpose,
so true, Jesus.
You default to being a critic.
Wow.
And you become critical of everything. And you blame everybody.
Isn't that something?
It's your fault you're not walking in your purpose.
It's your fault.
It's your fault. It ain't the principal's fault. It ain't the pastor's fault. It ain't the first lady. It ain't the first lady's fault. It ain't the choir director's fault. It ain't the praise and worship leader's fault. It's your fault.
That's
if
right.
If you're not walking in your purpose.
And stop being lazy and get up and walk in purpose.
Absolutely.
We need less critics now and more people walking in their purpose.
Right. They don't want to put the work in that it takes to get to where they need to go. So they're going to try to bring everybody down to their level.
To their level. Right. So they can feel good.
I don't want to be cliches, but misery loves company.
Yeah. Come on now.
That's true.
Misery loves to play the victim.
Yeah.
If I go to the Bible real quick, the man that was on the porch called Beautiful. When Jesus asked him, "Do you want to be made whole?"
I don't have nobody to help.
He instantly played the victim.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Sure did.
I have nobody to help me.
Yeah. Sure did.
That's not what I'm asking.
He didn't answer the question.
That's not what I'm asking you. I'm not asking. See, victims don't want to answer the question the right way, because the victim knows that I have to make an effort in order to get where I want to be.
Yeah.
So he played, the first thing out of his mouth was he played the victim. I have nobody to put me in the pool and choke the water. Jesus was like, that's not what I'm asking you.
It's a yes or no question.
Do you want to be made whole?
Yes, that's right. Come on now.
but being made whole takes work.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
we
may
live
have
through
I may have to go to a counselor
Mm-hmm.
to be made whole.
Right.
I may have to go through some therapy sessions
Mm-hmm.
to be made whole. I may have to look at me and change everything about me
Mm.
to be made whole.
Right. Right.
Because
yeah.
what my learned behaviors have been off for years.
Hmm.
Right.
That's why we have
Yep.
to understand the process of wholeness starts at birth.
It starts at birth.
See?
It starts at birth.
You know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about when mommy was mentioning about you have to examine yourself. We need to take an assessment, because even with the school system and the schools or whatever, in my neighborhood, it used to, just be county, but now we're getting like Section 8, people in there. And I'm sure that's changing the school,
Yeah.
the way the school is run, the school system and things like that. So when you see that change there, you need to assess to see why is this change here? What's changing? These people need something different. We can't use the same stuff that we've been using before, because we have new people. We have new faces. We have, new things to deal with. So we need to learn how to figure out what the need is at that time.
Right.
This is what I call it in education, and I do it at the church too. It's called being culturally responsive.
Mm-hmm.
We have to know what the culture is and respond sometimes to the needs of the culture.
That's right.
It's culturally responsive. It's culture. If I'm in a predominantly African American school and I'm a Caucasian person and I don't know the culture, that I can't teach.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And if I'm in a church with predominantly, drug addicts and sinners that are coming in being saved, then there's some things that I may not be able to do sometimes because they wouldn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you always got to get it to their level.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not changing what you believe or changing your message. What it's called being culturally responsive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Technology
also
change.
we have to fight. We as a people, we fight for a while and then we stop. So if you see the curriculum changing because Section 8 came in the neighborhood, we need to go to that school and fight for our rights, and make it happen. You can make it happen. You can make enough noise to make it happen. And we never want to take our money out of stuff. We need to do that.
Yeah.
You get their attention because we're making them wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to get their attention because really you own them and don't even realize it. The power in the man.
You paying
Don't even
that salary.
realize it.
Absolutely.
The power is in the money. The power is in the money.
It is.
Yep. So true. Hit the pockets. That's so true.
You need to be a congressman of the education system.
Look, Mel, I have on here. I was like, I will be your manager if you want to run for school superintendent.
You need to be over the whole school system. Yes, because people need this.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Eric, people need to hear this.
Yes.
And it sounds like you have a plan. And then you are heavily involved in, what's going on. You said you walk through the classrooms every day. People just want that check, that paycheck or whatever, and they don't care about, whatever, happens or whatever.
That's right.
But you like more hands-on, and people need that.
That's
people
right.
need
We
that.
do.
They need to be made
And
accountable.
visibility. Some
They need
people
to
don't
be
know who
made
the principal
accountable,
is.
though. Yeah.
Right. And then some students need that principal's presence in that classroom.
That's it. That's it.
Visibility.
Some teachers as well. They need that
I tell my sister. That's it. I tell my sister principals this almost every day. We have to inspect what we expect.
See that?
You have to inspect what you expect.
That's right.
What's the name of your
Word.
church? Y'all want to join us?
Yes. Join it.
John.
Hey, Eric, I have a question. How do you address bullying in schools?
Ooh, that's the tough one. Because now bullying is not really physical anymore.
Yeah.
It's cyberbullying.
Right.
Yeah, wow.
It is.
And you can't trace back the Instagrams, the Snapchats, and this thing goes on for months, weeks, and months. It is so hard. I think, how do you combat it? You really have to teach your kids social media etiquette. You have to teach kids that everything that you put out in social media has a digital footprint.
Yeah.
That can trail you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we teach those lessons the first 2 weeks of school.
Wow.
You know, I'm teaching you social media etiquette, because the hardest thing for a principal and assistant principal is when cyberbullying happens, and then when they get to school, they ready to fight each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're why are you fighting? You're like, why are y'all at it? Well, they posted this last night. They posted this, and everybody's 100 foot tall behind the keyboard.
Yeah. How about that?
You know what I told the children before, be careful what you post. It follows you, even affects your ability to get a good job.
That's right.
Yeah. You're crazy on this. The people don't want crazy people in their offices, in their space.
Right.
Follow your record, you know.
And then some students they commit suicide behind that too. So
that's so true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think the bullying now has become less physical and more of the cyberbullying, which can go a lot longer than the physical bullying. Right. We can stop the physical bullying very quickly. But that cyberbullying, it just goes on and on. Yeah. The next thing you know, you got a trail of 30 people who didn't comment it, who didn't join. Sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 weeks just to investigate one case.
Wow. And then that's where your parents can come in with teaching them self-esteem, because what they say to you, like in bullying, that doesn't define you. Right. That's not really you. You are above that. Let them know that. And you must be important for them to be focusing on you. It must be something you have that they want. You know, and jealous of.
Haters, they're haters.
And the parents can stop a lot of this bullying too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But some parents are bullying themselves. Like,
that's very true.
They get it from them. That's where they learn that behavior.
Right. That's true. Some parents are bullies themselves.
Right.
The pastors is bullies.
Well, Melanie, that's another topic, because yes, I'm not gonna go there, Sister Farmer. I know
you're not.
Farmer,
you're a good pastor.
I'm not gonna go there, but some pastors bully people because they want that slave mentality. It's a slave. It's a slave master mentality.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, it's a slave master mentality.
And you're not important in your skin, so you have to make somebody feel inferior to you.
Absolutely.
Promote your feeling of importance.
You disagree with the pastor is disobedience. You disagree with the pastor is disobedience. No, you should be able to disagree with me. Okay. We're gonna get a better idea out of it.
That's right.
Go ahead, Pastor. Go ahead.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, if we disagree in a closed room, that's fine. Because I felt that you were important enough to be in that closed room. But when we come out in front of people, we should be a unified front.
Oh yeah, right.
I have 6 assistant principals. We don't always agree in our meetings. We don't always agree on everything. But when there's a disagreement, everybody says their rationale about why it should be this way, and then we take a collaborative decision and make a decision collaboratively about what's best for the school. And churches should operate the same way. Like if you are important enough to be at the table behind closed doors, then you should be able to challenge me in my thinking.
Come on now.
Let's be honest. We as pastors don't always are spiritual. Sometimes we think naturally, just like everybody else.
Because we're
admit it.
The people.
Admit it. Yeah.
To get him back as a pastor. Right now, he's a
I
principal.
want to be so holier than thou. Admit it.
Right. We want
Come on.
you know the Bible, the people want to be so spooky now.
Yeah.
It's not being spooky. So super spiritual, super spooky. Stop all that.
Right. Yeah.
At the end of the day, schools is about kids. Church is about souls.
Wow.
Because
So have you ever had to deal with people bringing weapons to the school?
Yes, knives, drugs. I've seen one gun in my 19 years of education. I've had one gun incident. I've had 2 shooting incidents.
Wow.
In my 19 years of education. The shootings happened at the corner after school was dismissed. So it didn't happen inside of school.
Right.
And I have experienced a death or 2 within students every year since I've been principal.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Go
You
ahead.
have security force in your school?
I have a school resource officer. He's a police officer, but he doesn't get involved unless I absolutely need him to be involved. Okay. And he doesn't move without me telling him to move.
Yeah.
Isn't it mandatory for all schools though to have a resource officer?
Not mandatory, but
okay.
I think at least on the high school level you should.
Yeah, it's smart. Yeah, I just have to say that I've been in the education field for a lot of years, so I've seen, I've seen a lot of things, So, I've seen the weapons, and I've seen, and it's like we just have to get a handle on some of these things.
Absolutely, we got to get a handle. We got to get a handle on the unstructured time for kids.
Mm-hmm.
See, because when they come to school, it's structured. But it's when they are not in that structured time,
right?
And their parents are not giving them structure, they are liable to do and engage in anything.
Yeah.
So it's really getting a handle on 3 to 9 o'clock at night. If we can get a handle on 3 to 9 o'clock and really engage them, I think we will see better students in school as well.
Yeah, Sam mentioned, he was like, what if they don't have parents in their life? Like how?
Well, I think we got to have better mentor programs.
Yeah.
Because everybody, there are kids that are going home to 2 adults, but they don't act like their parents.
Wow.
So we got to have better mentors, and we got to, like I said, we have to provide access and opportunity to students who normally would not have it.
And do you have any resources for mentorship, or anyone who's interested in being a mentor?
Yeah, absolutely. I have about 3 or 4 mentorships in my school, but they're willing to help go beyond. We have Supporting My Dream, Evangelist Angie Sinkfield. I have One More, One Less. They're out of Baltimore. I have Lotus Behavioral Health. This is a Black-owned, all-female, Black-owned mental health professions.
Okay.
What was the name of that again? It was Lotus?
Lotus Behavioral Health.
Okay.
And they work out of Baltimore City. The owner name is Nefertini.
You say mental health? They deal with mental health,
yes.
They deal with mental health, yes.
Behavior.
And it's a mentor group called One More, One Less by Ron Beasley.
Okay.
And then I have a Supporting My Dreams, and that's Angie Sinkfield.
Supporting My Dreams.
So do your teachers ever have to visit the homes?
Principals do that. My APs
really?
and myself do that. Yeah, I do home visits.
Wow.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But do you have problems with some of your teachers? Not your teachers, I mean, as a whole, out there, like teachers not behaving like professionals?
Absolutely. That's why they go home. That's why I get rid of them.
I was getting ready to say.
Get out.
That's what I was
You don't belong here.
That's right.
Go get some help.
Yeah. But you know what? In all seriousness, teachers have mental breakdowns just like kids.
Yeah.
because they deal with stuff too. They have a life outside of the classroom.
Yeah.
And so we have services for teachers as well. We call it employee assistance programs.
Right.
EAP.
AP.
Yeah, that at my job. We had that. Yeah.
Everybody has EAP services.
Yes, they do.
And if you are a struggling adult, take advantage of the EAP services.
Yes.
Please.
Amen.
Some things come by fasting and praying, and some things come by going to see a therapist.
Right.
Oh, I have a question.
See? I love it.
When you go into these classrooms, you said you go into your classrooms every day.
Yes.
When you go into the classrooms every day, do you see stuff that teachers are doing that you don't like, and how do you address that?
So I create these Google forms that shows me the data when I go through walkthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
But all of my walkthroughs, I pull that teacher aside and I do what I call glows and grows. This is what I saw that was good, but this is the area of growth that you can be in.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So we do that. We
you
do
said
that all the time.
Glows. And,
Glows
okay.
and
glows.
Glows and grows.
Okay,
Glows
glows and
and
grows.
grows.
Okay.
This is what you were good at. This is what you glow in. This is what
Wow.
you growth.
That's awesome.
Yes, I absolutely love it.
Criticism. I love it.
Oh, wow. I
Talk
could have been
about the
working in your
trades
school.
programs in the school.
Yeah. What do you teach, Tish? What do you teach?
No, I used to when I
Oh,
lived,
okay.
Yeah, I tutor now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can use those too. Come on in. Come on in. Take a seat. Come on in.
Don't forget your
Take a
mask.
Oh, we'll talk.
So can we talk about the trade programs in the schools? Do they still have those?
Absolutely. We do. We have electrician programs. We have HVAC programs. We have plumbing programs, welding. We have IT certifications. It's just a matter of kids. If you're in the school, you have to go talk to your counselors.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go talk to your counselors and the parents reach out to your kids' counselors,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the high school, and demand that you want your kid to have the access and the opportunity to everything.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. That is good. Yes, very good.
Awesome.
Mhm. Absolutely.
We have
Oh
8
my
more
God.
minutes.
This is so good.
So bad.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm just so excited. First of all, I was excited to, that you were on our show because, I get
Absolutely.
good word all the time. So just trying to spread you around a little bit.
Right.
But this information is good, not just for the students, it's for everyone. Everyone can play a part in it, and I'm glad when you mentioned about the resources.
Yeah.
And I guess we're going to put that on the site or comments, whatever, so people can get resources or whatever. Right. So this is really good. Oh my gosh.
I'm a firm believer that that village. We have to go back to the concept of the village, the village. And the village doesn't have to consist of all family members.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to we have to go back to that concept of the village.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be boys and girls clubs, whether it be through after school athletics, whether it be through art clubs and gymnastics, whatever it be, whatever that child is interested in, it's going to take that village to really hone in and change the culture. We need a cultural change.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
We need to change the culture.
Well, how can the church and school work together cohesively?
Well, first of all, we gotta stop having uneducated people in the church.
Oh,
woo! Shot boy.
Is y'all heard that? No.
You know what? We're gonna start a class. We're gonna start back our class again.
Well,
and
first of all,
chapters will be on the leader.
Culture change is so important.
Culture change. I'm gonna say a mouthful right now. Y'all may not invite me back, but if doctors can be trained, if doctors have to go to school and trained to practice medicine. If lawyers have to go through law school to become a lawyer, preachers who have the people's souls at stake need education.
And guess what I want to say?
Yeah.
And after they get ordained, 20 years later, they still need refresher courses.
You need continuous education.
Continuous education.
You need to be. I mean, let's be honest. The Baptists got it right. At least that all their pastors got to have a bachelor's degree in something. You know, because they have to be studied. The Catholic priests, the 90% of the Catholic priests got PhDs in some form of theology or seminary. Somewhere they have a PhD in something biblical studies, theology, all of those things. You know, in order to effectively teach the Word of God, yes, I believe that the Holy Ghost will lead you and guide you. But like I said earlier, before we got on the call, God needs something to work with too.
Yeah. Come on now.
God needs something to work with too. And I'm a believer. If I'm in charge of your soul, which is more important than being in charge of doing a heart surgery. But we make the doctors go to 8 years of medical school to perform that surgery. And a pastor's performing surgery every Sunday to circumcise the heart of man. Why don't we require pastors to be educated?
You know what? Also, you really need a grasp of the English language to interpret the Bible, right?
When I teach hermeneutics to young preachers, I tell them to go out and buy a grammar book, because the colons mean something, the semicolons mean something, the commas mean something. You know, you stop learning noun verb phrases in 3rd grade, and now you in your 20s trying to read a Bible that has a whole bunch of conjugate verbs, adverbs, you know, noun, predicate, subject. You forget all that stuff
and everything.
Conjunctions. And so we misinterpret scripture based on if we didn't even know if it was a metaphor or an analogy or allegory.
A simile.
You know, a simile. You know, the author's purpose and the main idea in detail. That all that a preacher has to have to even preach a sermon. And if you're not doing that, then what are you doing but clicheing and shouting all day?
And screaming and yelling.
Screaming and yelling, clicheing and shouting and using prepositions.
But you know what?
At the end of sentences.
This is like an IT community, and you get another class of people coming into your assemblies. And they're not expecting that.
It's time to go back to the intellectual preaching.
Yeah.
And it's really teaching. The hooping and the hollering is good.
Absolutely.
The hooping and the hollering is good. I love it. Don't get me wrong. Mel can tell you, I was a hooper. But in this season,
it's different.
20 minutes, intellectual preaching. Because when people walk out of the church, they gotta feel that they can do better.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's not an emotional roller coaster.
And we call it exposition.
For too long, we have done a disservice by giving people an emotional roller coaster and calling it church.
The
laying on the hands and healing is great. I believe in all of that.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, after you done lay hands on somebody and they on 100 emotionally, when they go back home, what do they have?
That's right. So true.
Do they have something that's going to get them through to the next situation?
That's right. Some substance.
We just thank our guests for being here. We got 1 minute.
Good.
1 minute.
Y'all come to
We can stop.
So do you have any final thoughts about education before we go?
No, I just think on education on all levels that we really have to We really have to hone in on our kids and
Right.
educate them on every level.
Yeah.
You know, college, career,
Mhm.
whatever, you know, is in the best interest of your child.
Right.
Allow them to take risk, allow them to experience and to experiment with different levels of education till they find that one that they can hone in and like the more so they can really grow themselves as a person.
Good. Thank you so
Yes,
much for
very
coming on our
good.
show.
Thank
We
you.
will
Yes.
have you back.
So much.
Okay.
And thank you so much for tuning in with MLF
Yeah.
and Chilling with the Girls. We will see
Sure.
y'all next